Mike Lombardi. You see the thumbnail. Mike Lombardi, for whatever reason, has one, and you know what I'm talking about. He has one for the New York Giants right now. I don't know if it's because the fan base are giving him a hard time, criticizing his credentials and stuff like that. I don't know exactly what made him mad, but the New York Giants, the New York Football Giants, are making Michael Lombardi, popular right now. They're making him popular right now. And because the New York Giants are making him popular right now with his takes, he is running with it. He hasn't seen this much airtime in a long time. Outside of his own show and the GM report and stuff like that, talking about national media, he hasn't seen this much fame, I should say, in a long time. Now, here's the thing. I'm just a guy on YouTube, a New York Giants fan on YouTube, just like you. People tuning in, New York Giants fans. And listen, I usually don't even put my gloves on until September, until the season starts. When I put the gloves, when I go back and forth with teams, no matter what, no matter how I'm feeling, no matter how my team is doing, I put the gloves on every week for the New York Giants. But here it is, July. Training camp hasn't even started officially. We're still waiting on the vets to get in the building. And I feel like I need to defend my team, my GM, for whatever reason. Now, I don't even agree with everything that Joe Schoen does. Not everything that he does. But to get the criticism, the way that the criticism is coming and where it's coming from, Mr. Mike Lombardi, I don't know, man. Now, here's the thing. Mike Lombardi has been a part of the NFL for a long time, since the early 80s. So I'm not going to knock his credentials, his football knowledge, and things like that. I'm not going to knock that. But you come from that background, I understand you're a media guy now. Maybe not by choice, but you're a media guy now because that's what you have to do. But I feel like you got one on for the New York Giants, and especially Joe Schoen. You've been critical for a couple of years now. I remember 2 years ago, the disease of me, those comments coming. And when that happened, the only person that didn't get paid was Saquon Barkley. You mentioned Dexter Lawrence, guess what? Dex got paid. Andrew Thomas got paid. Daniel Jones got paid. The disease of me, that's where it started. Michael, like, again, I don't know where it started, but I feel like you started it. So what I do? I'm hearing all this criticism, and then I'm watching a clip of the Pat McAfee show, and for me, that's the straw that broke the camel's back. Talking about what Joe Schoen should be doing, and how he's not building a team. He's looking at players individually. I beg to differ. So I said, you know what? Let me do something. Let me go back and see exactly what Mike Lombardi has done. Let me check out his resume. And it is a thorough resume. He's been in a lot of places. He's worked for the NFL for a lot of years. So let's just do this. So first, he started off at UNLV, 1981 to 1984. He was a recruiting coordinator, paper pusher. Then he made the big jump to the 49ers. From 1984 to 1987, he was around greatness. Bill Walsh. He was a scout. They won a Super Bowl that year. And then from 1987 to 1989, he was on the Browns as what? A scout. 1989 to 1993, pro personnel director. Okay, so we're moving up. From 1993 to 1995, director of pro personnel. Okay, so now we see this guy moving up the ladder. He went from UNLV to the 49ers, won the Super Bowl there, part of some great teams with those 49ers. Also, one of those teams the New York Giants got off on, but it is what it is. Okay. And then 1990, what we got? Yes, from 1993, 1995, he's director of pro personnel. I just said that. And then we see a 3-year hiatus. We already know what happened to the Browns in those mid 90s, I should say, early to mid 90s. 3-year hiatus. He doesn't come back into the NFL until 1998. What happened those 3 years? What did you do for those 3 years? I don't know. Really don't care. So a 3-year hiatus out of the NFL, as far as what I'm reading, right? 1998, he makes his return. This time he's in the NFC East. It's the Eagles, director of pro personnel. So the same position he had at the Browns 3 years prior. He gets the same position in 1998 for the Eagles. One and done. From there, he goes to the Oakland Raiders, and he's with the Oakland Raiders from 1998 to 2006 as a senior personnel executive. The first time in his career, he was demoted. He goes from the director of pro personnel to a senior personnel executive. Fancy language, demotion. And I believe they did go to the Super Bowl between that time too, though. But, as a senior personnel executive. All right, then with the Denver Broncos in 2007 as a personal assistant. After that, 6-year hiatus. So, director of pro personnel gets demoted to a senior personnel executive for the Oakland Raiders and gets a demotion again to personnel assistant for the Denver Broncos. One and done, 6-year hiatus. Then he makes his triumphant return for the Cleveland Browns, 2013. Finally became the man, GM and vice president of the Cleveland Browns. Finally made his way as a GM. Congratulations, Cleveland Browns. He talked about building a team on the Pat McAfee show. Putting the team together. Do me a favor. Look up the draft class. Look up the draft class that he was responsible for. The Browns had the 6th pick that year. 6th overall. You know what the GM of the Browns did that year, Mr. Michael Lombardi? You know who he drafted? Barkevious Mingo. And I'll throw up the rest of the draft class so you guys can see it. That year, his starting quarterback was Jason Campbell. He had Willie McGinnis on the defense. Guess what the record was? 4-12. And guess what happened after that? He was relieved of his duties. So this guy was a GM. The one time he became the man, he lasted 1 season. 1 season. Talked about building a team. Who was his first round draft pick? 6th overall, Barkevious Mingo. And if you look at the rest of the draft class, no disrespect, a bunch of who's. A bunch of who's. Only recognize one name on that list. Respectfully. And then after that, he goes to the New England Patriots from 2014 to 2016. He wins 2 Super Bowls with the Patriots. Fantastic. What was his role then? Assistant to the coaching staff. So we're talking about a guy, right? Years and years of experience. Years and years of experience in the NFL. Had 1 chance at a GM and failed. And that's more than a lot of people can say. But that same person is dogging what Joe Schoen is doing. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. And guess what? The one thing about Michael Lombardi is he's right now. Not all the way right, but some things he's right about. Hindsight is 20/20. I'm pretty sure guys that have tried and failed can tell you some good things of what not to do. And I guess he's learned. I mean, he's speaking from experience and telling Joe Schoen what he shouldn't do, because what he shouldn't do is the same thing that got Michael Lombardi fired. So we still have a season to play. And I always like this phrase that I say to people whenever I have a discussion, a disagreement, a debate. The best thing is we get to see this thing play out. And Michael Lombardi, we will get a chance to see this thing play out. And then come January of 2025, then you can tell us whether the New York Giants passed or failed, whether Joe Schoen passed or failed. You be able to give us a real example, or pretty much put your money where your mouth is when it comes to the New York Giants and say, you know what, I was either right in January of 2025 or I was wrong in 2025. But right now, you got to relax when you're talking about a young GM, first time GM, started just like you did from the bottom, worked his way up from the scout to the GM, and you're giving him such a hard time. And it's a little bit ridiculous, but I understand why you do it, because guess what? The New York Giants are making you relevant right now. And it is what it is. Nobody was checking for you as much as they're checking for you right now. And that's just the truth. So I'll take my gloves back off. Again, I'm just a regular guy on YouTube. I do this as a hobby. I do this for fun. I do this out of the love that I have for my team. I've been a fan for a long time. Over 35 years I've been a fan of the New York Giants. It is what it is. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody for vibing with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And from one Giants fan to another, this is Big Dash Knows, Big Blue Nation. I hate being ugly, man. Let's go.